So, welcome everybody. Thank you all for joining us today. We're just about to start another Effisus'key Connective Value session. I would like in advance to thank you, my colleague Mar Duran.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mark. So today we'll be focusing on sealing of penetration on flat roof. We have some sort of a practical training, a method statement straight for this type of application. For those who are here the first time, just let you know we do have a Q&A session, also a chat. So feel free to leave a question, a comment during the presentation. We'll be glad to answer those. Just moving forward, this is quite practical, quite simple. This will be based on one of our solutions. So before we even start, I would like to start with one question, Mark. So this is in regards of the material or what type when it comes to flat roofs, which is the, I don't know if Mar, if you already put it the question.
Yes.
So no, this is not it, Mar. The first one.
Okay.
If you can just close, yes.
Okay, sorry.
So just to start our presentation, just a quick question for those who are watching. Again, thank you for joining us. So what is the type of flat roof that you're most involved in construction? Again, this could be other types, but here we have a couple options. So it's a asphalt, PVC, liquid membrane, liquid-based materials, or other type. We're just going to have like 1 minute around just to answer this question before we start. Mark, when you have the results, feel free to share with us.
Yeah, we invite everyone to vote and to participate with us. Okay, we have the results.
So in this case, 100% was quite interesting. They mentioned being PVC coating, this type of membrane. Okay, this is very common. This is very common for us, but we also find other type of solutions. So here again, we're starting our practical training. This will be focusing on our stopper solution. In this case, you have this flat roof penetration, which is a sort of a guardrail base penetration. This could lead to a lot of serious problems. So in this case, the base was already pretty damaged, some sort of a corrosion we see here. It could even start leaking inside the building. And so the requirements we all know for this type of solutions is, of course, to have no additional special materials to be the application. And that's why we'll be focused on the stopper, as some of you might already be aware, and that does not require any of this. Most of the common solutions that we see here is based as the same finishing from the roof itself. So if it's, for instance, asphalt membranes, there's some sort of a pitch pocket using the same materials, so asphalt membrane to cover this penetration. This is, depending the way they do, could be quite interesting. One thing, when a downside of this type of solution is because it becomes a very rigid a material, does not allow some sort of structural movements between this type of materials. In this case itself, we don't expect a lot of movements, but some sort of pipes, ventilations crossing the roof itself, we'll find this type of implications. So it's quite interesting to have some sort of flexible materials being applied all around this type of penetrations to avoid this sort of issues. So the solution we brought, as I mentioned, is the stopper. Some of you might be aware. So this is our solution for sealing and penetration. It could fit to pretty much any size, any configuration. We have other types of stopper solutions, for instance, for other roof configurations, standing seam, other types of roof with inclinations and sort of slope. We'll be focusing today on the solution which is fit for most cases on a flat roof, flat surface. Mar, if you just like to present here a little bit about the system composition, what is the stopper made?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. In this case, we are talking about a system. So when we supply this or we use this kind of product, we need like three, we can say three particular materials. First of all, we are talking about the stopper 1P sealant. It's a self leveling pour sealant. So we have we are sure that when we put this kind of material, even if it's a flat surface or even it's a little slope surface, we don't have any problem with with the with the leveling of this of this material. In the other side, we have another sealant. It's the same composition. The 1P and M1 sealant are the same composition both, but one it's more fluent than the other. So the M1 in this case, the composition it's more compact. So sometimes when we have any issue or we have a very big slopes or even a vertical situation, we can put one for another without any problem. And the main product, we can say, the Effisus multi-shaper, it's our new flexible curve, and it's supply in a bar of 1 meter, but we can play with it, and we can shape it. Yes, we can shape it in any form, in any situation. So if we have one penetration or even two penetrations of very big, very small, with different shapes, irregular situations, we can malleable and this curve, and it's really flexible all over the time, so we don't have any problem. So with these three materials, the multi-shaper, and the two sealants, even if we are in a situation with the high temperatures, we have another sealant as well for this system. And a part of this, we have small clips, metal clips, to
Yeah, you see
close.
here as far as the kit, you see here the clips, but we'll be focusing again on the application itself. You can also see here in this one, in this one. So as Mark is saying, this is the multi-shaper itself. It's 1 meter membrane. And again, you can just fold, you can just fit to any type of configuration, you can mold as you want. You can just, depending on the types of the penetration itself, you can just use the clip as it comes as a kit. You can even attach one membrane on the other. The multi-shaper, just to come about more technical aspect and composition of material. So this is a polymer rubber material inside with aluminum mesh. That's why allow us to be so flexible and to shape it on this type of configuration. Here, it's just quite simple. Today, we'll be focused on some sort of a circular penetration, but again, you can shape it as you want it, a square, even a weird shape, as you see on the top. So here, just a couple of facts when it comes to the multi-shaper, focusing on the versatility, since it's compatible with the various substrates and most substrates that we find. We mentioned a couple of those as asphalt membranes or PVC, pretty much other types of roofing membranes that we see. Again, today we're focusing on flat roofs. Could be applied. We have specific solutions for other types of roof configuration. As Mara is saying, could even be applied on a vertical situation because we have different sealants that could be fit inside the curve itself. But we'll be focusing on flat. As I mentioned, it fit to any type of element. It's easy to transport because the membrane is quite compact. It's just 1 meter. We supply this in kits. Could be just a single membrane. And then multiples, 3 membranes, 3 meters, 5, 10, depending on the application. Since the whole sealant and everything is part of the composition of the system, they could resist to various situations that we see on site. And today we'll mention a couple of those. So here, just to come to the practical aspect, this is just a step by step on the application itself. So the first thing we need to do, this is for all the situation we see at site, is of course make sure that the surface is properly clean and dry. The multi-shaper, the membrane comes in 1 meter, as I mentioned. And we even supply, when, for instance, you have a circular penetration, we supply it with a shark guide. So, for instance, if you have a 50 millimeter penetration, the shark guide, you can measure the penetration itself, and it will give you the actually dimension that you need to cut. For 50 millimeter, for instance, you cut at 220, I think. So you cut it, as you see, as it comes in 1 meter, one single membrane could fit the multiples. This, of course, will depend on the size of the penetration itself. So you cut it according to the chart guide, if this is a circular. If not, you can just test fit it and see how you need to actually cut. So you shaper as you want it, as you desire. You see here a couple step by steps, um, trying to fold it, trying to mold it. So once you shape it, in this case, we shape it as a circular, um, you place it around the penetration. Here, the only recommendation is to have this distance between the penetration itself and, let's say, to the walls of the curb, it must be a distance of at least 25 millimeters. This is to assure that once you put the sealant on inside, this is where we completely seal. So once you place it, you mark the exterior, you remove a side, and then we go into the next steps. Here you see quite simple. In this case here, what we consider is as the actual dimension was not the top of the penetration, but the base itself. So we consider a minimum of 25 millimeters here from here. That's why you're saying here in the picture, it could be a little bit bigger. And on the actually application that we brought it today, you understand this. And what we have here, Mark, what is the next steps for this?
Yes, one we have all the curve put it in our position, in our dimensions, got it. We want to seal all the curve and all the penetration surface. So what we have to do is to coat a little bit the penetrations until 75 millimeters, because the standard height of the curve is 5 millimeters. So we always say we have to do it at least 2.5 centimeters above the top of the sealant. So in this case, we can coat, yes, a little bit with the M1 the penetrations, all the surface, and then we turned the curve, and in the base, under the base, we put like two beads of the same sealant. In these situations, to after this, turn it again and put it in the place where we mark, and we press a little bit with hands to adhere the curve to the substrate. So in this case, it's the M1 only for the curve and the penetration itself.
Yeah, so here just to summarize, in this step, we only involve the M1 sealant, which is going to be the same to coat the penetration, as Mar's saying, around 75 millimeters from the base to the top. As you see here, we coat in here, and then we use it as to adhere the curve itself, the multi-shaper itself on the substrate. So next steps is positioning the multi-shaper, pressing down firmly. We insert the metal clip, as you see here. It's really important to as well to apply some bits of the same sealant, the M1 sealant, all M1 here so far, around the metal clips, because the clips is here to joint the membrane itself, but not completely to seal. We're guaranteed the sealing of the system of the curve will be the M1. And once you have all that, you pretty much have everything set, everything done. All you need to do is to fill it with our portable sealing, which is the 1P. Again, for those who just join us today, this is all part of a system, all accessories, all quantities from your sites will pretty much need, and Mark here is to confirm, is to provide is I can provide you a quote for all the materials that are actually going to be necessary from certain application. All we need from your sites is the quantities of penetration and of course the size, the diameter, if it's a square, the size of the actual penetration. We can just make a simple calculus where actually all the materials are going to need to apply. Again, the membrane comes in 1 meter. So if you have smaller penetration, let's say 50 millimeters, 30 millimeters, one single membrane could fit, you could use it for multiples penetration. And you have, in this case, it comes, the kit itself comes with multiple metal clips. So even if you use just 1 meter for one, you have some spare metal clips that you can use if you want to seal multiple ones. Once you do that, again, you just fill it with the 1P sealant. So here, just a quick animation to actually see how this process goes. And you see here the final solution, guys. Again, this is focusing more for flat roofs. That's why we use the 1P. Is a very UV resistant, a very flexible solution. And since it's, of course, it's most of the case will be total exposure on the roofs itself. And we find quite effective. We have a lot of project ongoing that use this solution a lot. Today, we're trying to summarize to just go a little bit over this, trying to be simple as much as possible. Mar, I don't know if you have a question here regarding the time.
Yes.
We can share with the participants.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're trying to maintain this process as much interactive as possible for those in the join the first time. Mar is going to share just right now a question. So how long do you think it would take to apply this solution, the Effisus stopper solution, considering, for instance, 100 millimeter penetration? You think will be 0 to 8 minutes, 9 to 16, 17 to 24, or 25 to 32 minutes? So just give it here just a minute for everybody can answer.
Yeah, we invite everyone to participate with us.
Yeah, and here just take in mind, I will also like to know from your side, if possible, just come at the chat session you have here on the screen. What are the actual solutions that you've been applying? What are the actual things that you'll be using to deal with this when you have this side of penetration? So
okay,
feel free
I
to
think
comment.
we have the results. Okay. Here we go.
Okay, so quite split.
Triple tie.
So quite split here. 33, 33, 33. Okay. So in this case, most of you, or some of you mentioned 0 to 8, 9 to 16, 17 to 24. Okay. In this case, I would like to highlight how long it would take this whole process. As you see, it was quite fast. I mean, I tried to go over fast at practical way. This usually for 100 millimeters, I would say for the first time or someone who's doing this first time, it will take around 9-12 minutes, okay, which is quite fast. Depending the way you get used to, you can do this even faster, and of course maintaining the same level of quality of the application. But we have some people that already been aware of this type of solution. They've been doing this a lot, and they say they do this in around 7 minutes. So when you have multiple penetrations, they can do this really fast. And the most important here is to mention, of course, that you can deal with this in a quite fast way, but remaining all the qualities, remaining all the robustness of the solutions that we assured. When it comes to warranty, I would just like to highlight a little bit here. We have, for this type of applications, our consulting department, Mar hears this in this presentation, we try to provide all this document for the specific application, a quote, exact quantities, and the standard warranty for this application is it's 5 years. Depending on the application itself, depending on the project, we have very high demand projects, for instance, Middle East that's been applying this type of solutions. We can extend this warranty, of course, the way we engage, the way we involve in the project itself, to a couple more years. So let's say 10 to 15 years, for instance. So we're very confident on this. So here we started with the whole problem in the beginning. If you remember the picture, of course, there was very damaged base, corrosion. We saw this. This is just a quick example. Again, this is could fit to multiple. I will show later on, of course, all the examples that you can use this type of applications. In this case here, we remain all the efficiency for the application. You don't actually need any type of special material when it comes to asphalt membranes or some sort of PVC membranes that you need to use very specific materials to deal with that. In this case, all you need, it comes as a kit, it comes all the materials. We supplied all this training. We go for sites when it's possible, and we provide all the support to the installation of this product. Effisus have different allocated teams around the globe. I'm, for instance, in charge of UK market. We have some guys on Dubai, for instance, other parts around Europe. So just to be aware, we're here and we can provide all the support. So you see here the final solution. In this case, what we even consider is, of course, the base itself of the application. So that's why we'll see here from the top that you find that we have a little bit over of 25 millimeters. But in this case, we're assuring the sealing of whole solution considering the base from the top. It fit quite nice because the actual height of the R curve, it matches with the application itself. But we have some sort of applications. In this case, when you have multiple penetrations on the roof itself. Here is quite interesting. One thing that we ask a lot is how long it will take to dry, or in this case, it will never dry, I would say, because the solution will remain some sort of flexibility. That's why it's really important. But to cure the top, I would say this will depend on the weather conditions, but 30 minutes to 1 hour, the top will be some sort of dry to touch, for instance. But this will cure over time, depending on humidity, depending on the weather conditions. This could take a couple of times, of course, depending on the actual diameter of the penetration itself. But for 50 millimeters, the whole solution will take probably about a month to get cured. But you don't have any problem with this as 1 hour or so, even if it rains, the top surface will be already dry to touch, for instance. In this case, you see here, it even covered with some gravels. So although you don't find any statical implicants when it comes to the solution, which is quite neat in comparison to others. But if it's required, you can even cover with some gravels, as you see here in this case, that were not even going to be visible. And again, assuring the whole sealant of this type of penetrations. So here are some other cases, some more industrial applications, as you see here, balustrade, other types of roof configuration. Again, we try to focus a little bit on flat roofs. We have specific products for other types of roofs, but just to hear the possibilities of those systems. This one I think is quite interesting. As I mentioned, they do this sort of pitch bucket application using asphalt membranes. We actually have to remove the whole materials, which is part of the steps of this application, and we install it Dimucci shaper. Mar, did I forget to mention something? Do you like to highlight something here in regards to this application?
Yeah. In this case, for example, this particular situation, we see that it's like with laborers, they put one first and then the other one when it was a little bit break and the other one. So in these particular situations, when we have some small penetrations, but they have a big volume on the top with wind and on the top of the roof and etc. They move a lot. So in the base, they start to break a little bit with time. So it's really important to have something completely flexible. all over the time. So with this situation in this particular case, we removed everything, as you can see, and it's really difficult to put other thing because it wasn't only circular. It has a small, how do you say, it's streets or
Yeah, so the edges itself, the
edges.
material.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
In
Yeah,
the end, the whole solution we made is some
yeah,
sort of circular. Most of the clients, most of the applicators find they're doing that easier. But here, just to see that if you actually want to do some sort of optimization of material quantities of the border sealant, you could have just
yes.
mold it around, making this actual shape from the base itself.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
just
So
to
it's,
try to make it
sorry.
simple.
Yeah. So it's really important to have something to fill every age, every space, and be permanent, flexible to allow the movements of the, in this case, penetration, the roof, the antenna, or something like that.
Absolutely, absolutely, Mark. Uh, so here you have it, guys. Again, we're trying to be as much as practical today to bring up this sort of detailing of installation step by step for this type of application. So thank you once again for all for joining us. For us, it's really important to have you guys feedback. So maybe once you leave the session, I think a pop-up will show up for your screen. This will probably take 2 minutes to answer. Um, we have exclusive sessions, dedicated sessions to different applications during this week. So stay tuned for that. I think full agenda you can find on our website. It's effisus.com. If you go through Connect to Values, you find there the whole schedule. So once again, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Mark. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jean. Thank you. Good day, everybody.